Ladies and gentlemen, should divorced couples be allowed to remarry without any restriction? Should divorced couples be allowed to remarry without any restriction? So that's the question. An overwhelming 73.7% have responded in the affirmative. They should be allowed to remarry without any restriction. 18% have said no, and about 8.3% are still sitting on the fence. If we break it down, how does it look?
You know, I think here again, it's the concept of discrimination, because men have a different set of laws when it comes to divorced couples, and women have a different set of rules when it comes to divorces as far as Muslim women are concerned. There is a concept called iddat in Islam, which means that a divorced Muslim couple, the man, once the legalities are over, the man can immediately remarry whoever he chooses to, whereas the woman has to wait for this period of iddat to get over. It can be 3 months, it can be 6 years, 6 months, it can even be up to a year. Here again, if you break it down in terms of the graduates, the educated class, and also the younger people, the numbers are higher than the overall sample. For the overall sample, it's 73.7, whereas amongst graduates, people who are educated, it's almost 80%. Even those undecided, that figure drops by about 3% or so. Between the overall general sample that we have taken and also the graduates among them. Again, amongst young people, it's 75% who say that once a couple is divorced, then it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, you should be allowed to freely remarry without having this restriction of iddat, which means there is a certain time period which only the woman has to follow, the man does not need to follow. And I think, again, it goes back to how younger people, more educated people are seeing that as A, discriminatory, and B, also regressive.
Yeah, and a lot of them have been at the receiving end of this also this entire period. There are different logics that are used, but then why is it that it's not applicable to both sides? Should adoption be allowed regardless of religion? That's the next question on the News18 UCC survey, India's biggest survey on the Uniform Civil Code. Yes, 64.9% say yes, but the number of nays is significantly higher in this one, 22.9%. Don't know, can't say is about 12.2%. So the adoption question perhaps is the one in this survey among all the questions where the number of nays has been the highest, somewhere around in the 20-25%.
In fact, if you add the no's and no can't say, that adds up to about 26%. So a quarter of the respondents are either against equality when it comes to adoption, or they are not sure of it. And the reason for that is in Islamic law, there is no concept of a legal heir if the child happens to be adopted. There is the biological heir. There is no concept of an adoptive heir. Unlike in other religions, in Hinduism and Christianity, an adopted child has just the same rights as a biological child. Whereas in Islam, as per the Sharia Act of 1937, there is no concept of recognizing an adoptive child as a legal heir. Again, if you go to the younger people, the graduates, amongst the graduates, it does go up by about 5%, but amongst younger people or older people, it seems to be more or less the same. In fact, in older people have a larger number who believe that, yes, it should be equal laws when it comes to adoption. Like I said, this was a case that was challenged by activist Shabnam Hashmi. She had an adopted daughter. She went to the Supreme Court challenging that. And the court in that particular instance said all basis of adoption in this country is what's called the JJ Act, or the Juvenile Justice Act. In that particular case, the court ruled, and the court opined, no less than the Supreme Court, that the basis would be the JJ Act for adoption, whether it is a daughter or a son. An adoptive child, particularly when there is no biological heir, then becomes de facto the legal heir, the heir that is recognized by law.
But interestingly, Zaka, and I'm subject to correction, but on my conversation with Professor Gurumurthy, had highlighted this issue of adoption. In Islam, the Prophet had said that adoption is not allowed, but the 1937 Sharia Act actually circumvents this, and Jinnah and the rest, because they were largely zamindar, said that if we don't have a male heir, they should be allowed to adopt. So they actually allowed for adoption there, which is again, that's why Professor Gurumurthy said it's a fraud on Islam. But